Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Caught on the Mic with Michael Clark. Let's take a few moments and talk about a person's ability to pivot, the ability to change one's strategy, the ability to change one's design. My next guest was the lead vocalist for a band you may have heard of in the early 2000s, the Audition. The Audition was signed to Victory Records, and I guarantee if you had a MySpace page, you know exactly who they are. Well, these days, Danny Stevens has made the pivot to country music, and he is doing a fantastic job. In this episode, we talk a lot about him rebranding. We talk about social media strategy, and we just have a conversation about the state of the music industry and his path to where he is now. Check it out. As always, listener and viewer discretion is advised. Danny Stevens joins me on Caught on the Mic today. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're anything like me, you doom scroll social media these days. You look at the Instagram, you look at the TikTok, you avoid Twitter like the plague, or X or whatever the hell it's called, because it's a steaming cesspool. You spend a little bit of time on Threads and you think to yourself, my God, I miss the era of MySpace and 2005. If you had a MySpace in 2005, I guarantee you came across my next guest in his old project, The Audition. They were signed to Victory Records. They had those great one-liner album titles like Controversy Loves Company. But my next guest, Danny Stevens, is doing something much different right now, and it is exciting, and I can't wait to dive into it. Danny, thanks for joining Caught on the Mic today, man.
Man, Mike, thanks you so much for having me, man. I appreciate you reaching out, and I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, man. So do you miss MySpace at all?
I do, of course I do, man. That was like the introduction of social networking. You know, there had been nothing. I mean, we had AIM, AOL and semester, but that was different because that was like your friends, like your actual friends.
Yeah.
MySpace gave us a platform to connect with people on like way deeper levels, which we liked it. We all fucking liked it. But there is a new app. There's a Gen Z app out now that is trying to replicate MySpace, and it's called No Place. And this is not an ad. I'm just telling you. Yeah, yeah. If you go on, if you get it's like a message board style.
Huh.
It's really bizarre, dude. It's designed for Gen Z, and it's interesting to look at how modern technology and the way that we socially interact has kind of like almost like retroactively gone backwards, and is at like the most primitive point again, which is just text, really, and posting sentences.
I kind of wonder if that's because people are sick of the negative algorithm. If people
Yeah.
long for the MySpace era, because that's my thing. Like, I don't want to as I told you before we pressed record, I like to only use rearview mirrors to look through get a better view through the windshield. And I think that's why I look at nostalgia through such rose-colored glasses, because I'm like, man, we didn't know how good we had it back then.
Yeah. And what's interesting too about nostalgia and our generation is that we're the first generation, elder millennials, I'll kind of like classify us as that, to be able to actually in real time live our nostalgia whenever we want.
Yes.
Whenever. And not only that, but there are now platforms and pages dedicated to like AI versions of our past. There's one in particular called the liminal moods. It's called something like a liminal phenomenon. I think that's a luminal, something like that. But it's just these AI created things that like the text on the screen will say, your Christmas day in 2001 or 1999.
Whoa.
And it's AI generated photos that feel like you're there. They don't necessarily look like it's fucking bizarre. I encourage you to look it up. I mean, that's like the shit I scroll. I'm like, whoa, this is so cool. Like,
dude,
it's cool to have like, and I kind of feel like I do this with my music. It's kind of cool to have blend the vintage and the old with like progress.
yes.
And kind of see where that kind of lays out, because the pendulum always swings, right? It's always going to go hyper one way and hyper the other, but who's going to land in the middle, and what does that look like? You know, that's always been interesting to me, personally, especially as a songwriter.
Yes. Yeah. I had Rob Harvilla on the podcast at the beginning of the year, and I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he hosted a show that was on Spotify called 60 Songs That Explain the 90s.
Okay.
And I've got this fascination. Like I always tie the New Radicals, You Get What You Give, as to being the 90s version of Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Like if everybody wants to rule the world, define the 80s. You Get What You Give, define the 90s. And I've long had this theory that we were never going to have the same sense of nostalgia for the 90s like we did generations before that. I was wrong. I've even said that on this podcast. This last year, I've taken such a deep dive back into 90s culture. And it's just kind of going back to what you're saying, especially with things like AI being involved now and tripping up some of our nostalgia. We sincerely didn't know how good we had it. And we sincerely don't realize how much of our current art is influenced by what was going on in the 90s. And to what you're doing right now, you could add a little slide guitar to some Soul Asylum songs, to some, Deep Blue Something, or some of the other hits that came out of the 90s, and they would probably be classified as modern country now.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. The genre is the most, I'd say, inclusive that it's ever been.
Yes.
And I think that really has to do with streaming. I mean, and I look at Gen Z, I look at them for like a barometer of like what's happening, and how do they ingest music, and how do they figure out, and that's not necessarily like my target demographic by any means, but if you can like understand why people do something, then you're better prepared to make your next move. And it's so interesting to me because music for you and I was something that we had to go out and make a decision and spend our money and purchase that thing. And, I'm sure you remember going to FYE and Sam Goody and stores and scanning the barcode and listening to 30-second clips of each song, right? So music was a place for us to like be with ourselves. Music now is a place that people kind of just go to. It's another app. It's a commodity, it's become a commodity. And I think that Gen Z, they look at Spotify and it doesn't matter if it's a Kid Laroi song or a Led Zeppelin song, because it's at the same place.
Right.
It's all in the same place. There's not a classic rock section, there's not a hip hop. I mean, there is playlists, but like, we were biased to the genre that we liked, because we had to seek that out. And once you found one thing, you doubled down on that. But that doesn't necessarily, I mean, it still happens, but it doesn't really need to happen. You don't really need to pigeonhole yourself as an artist and as a certain genre. I don't think what I do is super duper country. I'm not John Party, man. I'm not,
Right.
I'm not Zach Top. I'm not George Strait, but I'm also not Morgan Wallen, and I'm not Luke Combs. I'm not Luke Bryan. It's allowed us to really explore music, because anybody can hear it at any time. And as long as it's good and you kind of focus on making it timeless, I think you're good. I think you're good to go, and it will land. And it's cool too, because, something in 10 years could pop off for me. And I could be not even doing it. And all of a sudden, all of this happens. And if I have everything set in place, that will make sure that I'm able to benefit from that and not let it be a wasted opportunity. Well, I'll do that. I'll sit and I'll wait. But it's just super cool, man. That, like, most artists are against streaming, and I get it. Like, royalties and we don't get paid, but bro, I was on Victory Records. I never fucking got paid anyway. So like, I'm used to it. Like, I'm good. You know,
Right.
like it's always been the same since I was a kid, man. Since I was 15, I've never been paid a lot of money for my music. I do it because I have to. I don't know why. You know, I feel the need to do it. And, you know, with the new stuff, man, just really doing the most, like, cause I didn't know, I was so naive, bro. I didn't know what was going on, you know, like business wise, like I'm not a businessman. And like, I've had to like figure this shit out, dude. And, you know, it's been pretty rewarding, quite honestly, to like know that I'm directly responsible for the growth of something, you know, whatever it is. It's super cool, man. I'm sure you can relate to that.
Oh,
sure.
Absolutely. And we'll touch on that here in just a moment, but I kind of want to backtrack a little bit because you touched on.
Yeah. By the way, dude, I'm able to ramble, bro.
Same, dude. Same.
So
we're peas in a pod, brother. We're peas in a pod. You know, what was funny is like I said, on this last episode, I had Brian Austin Green on, and we cheers to the fact that we celebrate our little tinge of narcissism that is healthy narcissism. So that's just creatives. That's what we do, man. We communicate.
You have to, because it's a self-serving thing. Art. It's hopefully other people can relate to it, but it's coming from a personal place.
Exactly.
And it's coming from yourself. And art really is a selfish thing. I mean, you're doing it for yourself. And if you're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it wrong, in my opinion.
So what I was going to backtrack to was how much we used to tie our identities to what type of music we listen to. Like, metal guys would only listen to metal. Pop punk guys would only listen to pop punk. Rap guys would only listen to rap. And everything else sucked. But secretly, those same guys...
We're listening to Backstreet Boys and NSYNC.
Absolutely. Actually, it's funny. I got this story. You're going to absolutely love it. Now, it does involve a band that was unfairly canceled because of the heinous shit their singer did. But,
okay. So
2003, just kind of take your mind back. I am at a Target with an ex-girlfriend, and AFI Sing the Sorrow came out, and I loved it. And I'm like, okay, I got to buy this. And then I bought the Lost Prophets album that was out at the time. So I think you got figured out who the canceled band was.
Oh boy.
And then sandwiched in between was Justin Timberlake's Justified. And I go through the checkout, and my girlfriend kind of gives me a weird look. The cashier kind of gives me a weird look, and I'm like, man, it's hers. And she just busted me right out in front. That shit isn't mine. So what's hilarious is I'm sure you are one of these guys too. I go home and I was a faithful AP reader. Like, I loved alternative press, right? And I read this article with Chino Moreno from the Deftones, and it says, Chino, what's your guilty pleasure? And he's like, Justin Timberlake's Justified is such a good album. And I was like, fucking vindicated, bro.
Not only vindicated, but dare I say justified.
Oh, there it is. There it is. That's funny. That's hilarious. But you know, it's one of those things where I think as you get older, you kind of mature and you realize those little gatekeeping aspects about certain genres are just bullshit in the first place. And you hit the nail on the head. This current generation that's been born and groomed into streaming, like, doesn't care. Like, they love hip hop beats being in a country song, you know?
They do.
You know, they love a country singer going and singing on a hip hop song. You know, it doesn't matter that, like, NSYNC was made fun of in 1999 and now everybody's doing the bye 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 dance because of Deadpool, you know? And
right.
I think that's the exciting thing about music right now, that, you know, again, not to overly lean to nostalgia, that is almost better. I'm right there with you. I don't think that streaming is necessarily fair to artists if you're looking at it as a sheer pay platform. But if you're looking at it as a distribution platform, this couldn't have come as a better thing.
I agree.
I took the mentality of like, dude, the music's going to eventually be free anyways. So make your money on merch, make your money on putting together some great shows, and just give the shit away. Like, let people love you.
But the artists never really, maybe the 90s when they were selling records, but like, they weren't superstars, yes, mega Bon Jovis and the Nirvanas and the like.
Right.
Yeah, they were making they were recouping, but like, you know, bands in the '90s, man, dude, they were getting labels were spending money on them, like real money, and they didn't see any of that back. Like they didn't recoup, dude. Like they
Right.
did not, and they may have been like, you know, an advance is only that. It's only a loan. It's not like, hey, here's $4 million because we think you're awesome. It's, hey, here's what we think you're worth. Now make this, now prove us right. Now take this money. And it's not like you buy your house and your mama house and your car, and like that money is meant to like build your career.
Right.
And to bring your merch in house if you're so lucky to not sign a 360 deal, and to service your fan base, not to like buy a new house. You know what I mean? But you know, I don't even know where I was going with that, but but that, yeah, to the streaming point, like, you know, like I said, dude, like you like you said, give the music away and make your premium on the other things, which is what I'm currently working on. And I'm working on, you know, I'm learning marketing right now. I'm taking marketing courses, bro, like digital marketing courses, because I understand like what needs to be done, and it's not just posting content. I mean, that's a big part of it, but like there are avenues to find people that, you know, I just never explored. And, you know, if I can make an ecosystem with my fans, however small that fan base may be, you know, and I can have that business self-sustaining, that's going to grow it automatically. So it doesn't really matter who it is or what kind of music they listen to. You have to be open. And you know, and advertising is a hard fucking thing. Dude. But like, you know, I mean, it's really difficult, man. Like getting people to pay attention.
I was commiserating on this very thing with my wife the other day. We were talking about algorithms, and I was explaining to her the target. I said, okay, so if you're looking at social media and how you market these days, you imagine that the artist or the person that's creating the content is the center of the target. The first ring of the target is all the people that that person is directly connected to. The second ring outside of that is all the people that the people in the first ring are connected to. And then, but the thing about marketing right now is if you cannot figure out a way to break through that third ring, typically that third or fourth ring, eventually the social media platforms are going to look at your content, if you're regularly creating it, as spam, and then they do the reverse and they start to suppress you. And it is the weirdest science, and people get mad at it and they're like, oh, Facebook has suppressed me. Oh, TikTok has suppressed me. And it's like, no, what's suppressing you is you haven't figured out a way to jar the algorithm to work in your favor. And I think that is the toughest thing for any creative right now to try and figure out, because it's not an exact science.
It's not, and they won't. And that talk about gatekeeping, it's just different now, right? Like the algorithms it's just different. Spotify, you think Spotify is geek? If I sell a piece of merch through Spotify, which I have, I don't get any of that information on that customer,
right?
So I can't deepen the relationship. I can't bring them to the next level because but that's something that like you have to be able to do on your own, like for real. Like you have to figure that shit out, you know, on your own. And you know, it's easy to say, but it's hard to do. Make better content, right? I mean, I struggle with it every single day, dude. And I'm in an interesting position where my algorithm is doing me, at this point, a disservice, kind of like you were saying, because I'm caught in the middle of not being active on social media for years. And then all of a sudden, TikTok explodes, and then now the new standard is set. And that's okay. Like, fine, I'll adapt. I don't harbor any anger or resentment. Is it a lot harder? Yeah. Is there a lot more to do? Yeah. But hey, man, like, you know, if that's what it takes, that's what it fucking takes.
Right.
But the only people that I'm reaching at this point are people that loved the audition, that have stuck around, and my algorithm is feeding people like that. And not all of those people want to hear country music or what they even perceive as country music. If they are like the people you were saying earlier, and a lot of folks our age, kind of, you know, we're stuck in our ways, if you will. Right. And, you know, not everybody wants to see that, and, you know, or even take it seriously. So like, if you look at my Spotify page, bro, like even the Spotify algorithm is working not with me. I don't want to say against me because it isn't
Right.
vendetta. It's just, it's not working with me. If you look at my fans also, like, it's like all dead artists, not like passed away, but artists that are no longer active, not unactive, I should say. It's all unactive artists that, well, if that's who, and I don't know how that happened. Like, it's like local bands from Detroit and shit, like, that are on there. Like, so not only on my social side am I giving it, and when I do videos and posts about like my old band and Warped Tour and things like that, people love that shit. So now I'm trying to kind of turn some dials and start taking that and promoting my music with it. But it's a tricky game, dude. Like, it's tough, and if it's not being shown to the right people, then it's like you said, it's going to be suppressed, and it's just going to do the opposite effect of what I want to. And I've seen that happen. I've gone through cycles of like,
Yeah,
I'm getting
same.
thousands and thousands and thousands of views, and then I post something 600, which, great. If 600 people were in the room watching me play, that'd be fucking fantastic.
Right.
But the numbers game is different when it's such a disposable commodity,
Well, here we go again, and that's why this platform, like using podcasts and things along those lines, is definitely helpful. Because again, going through the rear view mirror to the windshield thing, it's almost like we're at a point where there's some value in creating some digital street teams, like old school
yeah.
it.
Oh yes,
Get
dude, that's a fucking brilliant idea.
5 to 10 people that are invested in what you're doing, and be like, okay, this is what you have to do. Every time I drop a new piece of content, you need to like it, you need to comment on it, and you need to share it, just so we can start penetrating the algorithm. And the only reason I bring this up is because it's very fresh for me today. Having dropped a new podcast episode, I've spent the entire week doing like pre-marketing for that episode, going, okay, this is my ask of everybody. This is a big episode. I need everybody. The moment I post this on Facebook, I need everybody I know that calls me a friend to share this. Whether you listen to it or not, I love you if you do, but if you don't, I'm not mad at you. I don't give a shit. Just at least share the post. And sure shit, dude. Like, I was looking at my podcast stats today, and I'm like, these are some of the best. It's not just because, we did this. It's a huge guest, but still, I really do think that it has to do with the fact that I've empowered people to work on my behalf, be a proxy on my behalf.
So and just to rattle your brain a little bit, because I think that's such a good idea. And that's an even deeper level of fandom that brings people even closer in and deeper to a deeper level, which is like, that would be like, because like that's direct too. Mm-hmm. So what is there? And I know that you said like your friends and stuff, but like, what would you think what would incentivize you to do something like that for somebody else?
Generally, it's an appreciation of the end product, for sure. Like, okay. You can't have shit product and then ask somebody, be like, hey, which, we're going to get into what you're creating right now, because and this is no bullshit, friends, anybody that's listening to this or watching this, I listened to Danny's current music while I was at the gym. You wouldn't think that country music could push you through at the gym. It was awesome. So anyways, so I will tell you that you have a good product. So realistically, it's the people that surround you wanting to see you succeed. And you have to just appeal to them on a very genuine level and be like, dude, you are the difference between me running in a hamster wheel or running all over the world. Like, you helping me break this algorithm is going to be the difference of it. Because to be honest with you, I've been doing this podcast for 4 years, and I've had tons of people that are really well known, but I have been in algorithm purgatory forever. And it's the exact things that you're talking about. If I want to talk about my past band life, or like other bands I've opened for or played with, and tell some stories, people love that shit. They'll eat that shit up because they love nostalgia. They love to, like, but it's like, dude, I want to move forward, and I want to tell other people's stories. It's like, I don't sing for a band anymore. I run a podcast and have awesome guys like yourself on it. So that's what my footing is, and that's what I want to be established as. So I guess, all of my word vomit aside, I hope maybe that kind of, you know,
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think at that level, it is almost just the appreciation and the reciprocity
yes.
of appreciation, that it's not expected, but it's helpful, and like you see that, and you validate it. However that you see it. Dude, I'm in my DMs all day. I talk to people all day long, because why wouldn't I?
Yeah. Yeah. If you want people to invest in you, you have to invest in them first. And that's,
Yeah, man. And like it's happened to all of us, where like I'll see my wife on the couch, and somebody that she follows will like comment back to her or like something, and she like loses it. Like, dude, if we can do that for people, that's so fucking cool.
oh,
Like
absolutely.
that's so wild. That like I'm just some guy, dude. Like, and people want what I'm doing, and that's fucking awesome, dude. Especially after this long, that people are still. Bro, I have people tell me that like I'm their favorite singer. Dude, that is so weird to me, because I know how I feel about my favorite singers,
Right.
and to like take myself out of myself and to put my headspace and to think about me that way it's so weird. I mean, I'm appreciative, obviously. Like like that's literally the best compliment you can give me, right?
Right.
But like, what a weird thing, because I'm just living my life, but I know how I hold, like where I hold my favorite singers in my mind and in my heart. And the fact that people are still around, man, it's fucking awesome. It's so cool. And it's not a lot of them, but they're mighty, dude. They're small, but they're mighty, you know?
We're at a state right now, kind of taking this back to where we started with the whole nostalgia thing, where people are coming back around and they're doing new things, and they're doing new things creatively. And that's a good lead in to talk about what you're doing right now. And maybe let's focus on some of your music for a little bit.
Okay.
You have a series of songs that are available on streaming platforms, produced by Sammy Mitchell, known for his work with Luke Combs. How would you describe the music that you're doing now in contrast to what you've done in the past?
It's a good question. I think I think it shows a lot of life lived, and in a very uncomplicated but still exciting way, which nuance is everything in music. And in the Audition, like our first record, dude, was just like go 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 go, like sing as hard as you can for as long as you can, perform as hard as you can as long as you can, just go go go. And I think with the second album we did, we had some time to kind of sit back and really make something special. And I remember that feeling, like allowing ourselves to just create and kind of just see what came out. And 20 plus years later, I found myself in a similar situation with Sammy, where we started working together on a whim, dude. When I moved, I've been to Nashville for 10 years now.
Okay.
And it'll be 10 years in November. And when I moved here, I was, the band had been broken up for, I'm like 2 years at that point. And, but 2 years off at that time was a lot, like of not doing music, and like, coming from doing 300 shows a year, being on the road just constantly, to dead stop, to moving to Nashville and slowly building a network of writers. And I like dug into the writers rooms in Nashville. Sorry, this denture's killing me right now, dude. It's fake too. But I dove headfirst into songwriting in Nashville because, I've always loved country music. I grew up on it. My grandfather raised me on George Jones and Merle Haggard, and he loved Dwight Yoakam. That was like his favorite, young country star at the time. But then, as far as like young country and 90s country go, I mean, that's what my parents listened to in the car always. So, it wasn't really a far leap for me to go from, because I was always exploring that in the band, and always I was writing country songs. I found a folder actually in my email of old country songs that I'd written in 2008, and some of those made their way into Audition. Some parts of those made their way into Audition albums, but like overall, the guys are always just saying, "Dude, it's too country. Like we can't do this, man." Like it's like for instance, It's Gonna Be Hard When I'm Gone on our third record. it started off as a country song, and the chorus in that song was actually like double time what it is. So it was more of like a shuffle beat than it was, you know, that big chorus. But when I presented it to the band, we flushed that out, and that's what came out, which was super dope. But you know, and that's probably my favorite song that we ever did. Like, I remember recording that and just, dude, it was fucking awesome. But I think it working with Sammy, like I said, I kind of got introduced to him on a whim. I was brought into a write when I was in the thick of my writing in Nashville. I had just recently gotten sober. I've been sober from, you know, alcohol free, I should say, since 2000. Well, it'll be 7 years in January.
Nice.
I'll be
Congrats.
booze free. Yeah, thank you. But you know, I wouldn't be here without that shit, without quitting. And like, dude, I was in a bad way, man. Like, it was not good, you know. And when we met, I was in a place where I didn't really know what I was doing, man. I was just lost, wandering Nashville, and I had this really big, awesome network built up. And when I got sober, dude, I fucking excommunicated everybody. I dipped, and I like went underground, man.
I get
like
that.
And I had to, dude, you know, but I lost everybody, but I found Sam, and when I met him, it reminded me of that feeling I had when I started my first band. When I
awesome.
first started my first band in high school, it was this connection that he and I had, that the first time we wrote, I actually sat down in his studio room, and I look up at the wall next to his console. I go, "Oh, you have an Every Time I Die poster hanging here," because that was very not Nashville,
right?
You know,
right.
And I was like, "Dude, I love Every Time I Die." Like, holy shit! He's like, "Yeah, they're my absolute favorite band." And then like 10 minutes later, I was like, "Hey, can I smoke weed in here?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, feel free." And I was like, "We just became friends. Like, we're gonna be buddies." So fast forward, we write this song. One of the songs that I've put out already, "Moved On Without You," which I would consider the lead single. I think that'll kind of flush itself out after I get everything out and start like packaging an album and pushing that. But we wrote that song, and he sent me a work tape back, and it just sounded different. He had like added percussion and all these different things, and usually like when you work with a producer, they just kind of send you whatever they stocked at for the day, that's what you get.
Right.
But he like went home and like put time into it and worked on it. I was like, damn, this is really cool. And I saw the potential. I saw where he was going with it, and it really like sparked something in me. So we wrote another song together with some other friends, the same group, and we had gotten asked to do Slam Dunk, the band, and Slam Dunk in the UK in 2018, and the shows were fucking awesome, dude. I mean, it was an amazing experience, really. And when I got home that week, like a few days later, I went to CMA Fest at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, and I was like 5 rows back. A friend had gotten just amazing tickets, and I'm there, I'm watching these guys, and I'm just like, damn, dude, like, you can fucking do this. Like, you just did it.
Yeah.
Like, you can do this for real. And then and there, dude, I decided. The next day, I called my producer, Sammy, and I was like, hey, man, I have this idea. I want to do 4 songs, and I want to put out an EP, and I'm gonna get all of my, like, friends that I still talk to and, like, top guns on this shit to, like, make it happen. Well, I didn't really get anybody to work with me because, like, he and I just started writing. We wrote like 6 songs together. I went home one time back to Detroit for Christmas or something, and I wrote 6 more in the span of 2 weeks. And every time I sent him one, I was like, yo, I got to send you this. I just wrote this. Every time I sent him one, he's like, yep, got to do this one too. Well, guess we're doing this. I guess we're doing it. So by the end of it, I'd written the last song and I sent it to him, and I knew that the project was finished. I felt it. And he's like, well, dude, I guess we're doing a full length. I guess that's just the way the cookie crumbled. And I'm like, oh, darn, you know, because like at this point, like I'm feeling it, man. And I'm like ready to go. And you know, then COVID happened, and we actually finished tracking a week before COVID shut everything down.
Right.
So all of that momentum that we had, it just stopped, dude. And then everything changed. And, you know, so I don't really remember what your question was.
No, you're right on the right track, bro.
But it's definitely been a humbling experience for sure. Like, you know, who the fuck was I to think that like I'm going to put this music out and it's just going to blow up overnight, you know? And thank God it didn't, because I didn't have the necessary like facilities in place to capitalize if it did, dude. Like I would have missed an opportunity, and it would have been way worse than anything previously in my career.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for the learning curve, honestly, and I'm excited that there's so much information out there that I can digest and like kind of make my own decisions and like figure things out for myself. So if I do get approached by somebody, I won't get taken advantage of again.
Right.
I refuse to ever be taken advantage of again by somebody in the music industry.
Right.
And I just want to be well versed in everything. And that's kind of where I'm at with everything at the moment, you know?
You know, you touched on a point without probably even realizing it, but I think 2024 has been, and it's kind of been this unspoken thing, has been the rebuild year from the COVID years.
I think so too.
Because a lot of what you just told me about how everything shut down while you were really getting going, that is a common story with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like getting completely derailed for a short period of time. And there's just something that has felt more optimistic about this year because you've released all of your new singles in 2024. So, how has that experience been? What's been the feedback that you've gotten from people that maybe did follow your career in the past?
Man, it's been nothing but love. Like I'm quite frankly, I'm almost a little concerned that there's not more haters.
Right.
It's weird. Like I've been, dude, the people that I've had some comments here and there, but like, I'm floored, dude. I'm so happy that I was able to create something that people that know who I am, like, love, dude.
Yeah.
Like I'm getting love from it, dude. It's really cool, man. It's really cool.
Well, that's the thing, man. It's like kind of going back to a topic we've already covered. It's the cross-pollination of genres and genre crossover. It seems like everybody in the country music world is an old scene kid at heart. I mean, you talked about Sammy like being into Every Time I Die. There's an independent country artist that I love, a guy by the name of Sam Riggs, and he's a huge Bring Me the Horizon fan. And then I heard recently that Carrie Underwood listens to like some dark metal like stuff, and it's like, what? Hear that Demi Lovato is a metalhead and an old scene kid, and it's like, what? So
yeah, I wish our music scene was as popular then as it is now, dude. Imagine if we had TikTok,
right?
We would have ruled the fucking world, dude. With the spirit that all of those bands had for the do-it-yourself mentality, like that spirit, and I think that my music still captures that spirit.
I think so too.
That I think that's the difference between what I was doing writing songs in Nashville. Because I saw, and I wrote yesterday, dude, and I wrote on Music Row, and so like I have to like remove myself as my own writer and kind of like put on a different cap to write those songs. When I was writing before, I always wanted the best song and like the deepest song and like, but that's not how it works. And I fought that for so long.
Dude, that's something that you and I can kind of form a sincere kinship over, like with what we're both doing now, though, is we take that old school work ethic from what we did before and we apply it to what we're doing now to make what we're doing now relevant, because that's something that I know whenever I watch your TikToks and such, it bleeds through. It completely bleeds through.
What do you mean?
You can tell that you are pushing your music with the same level of energy and the same spirit you are right now as you were in 2005 when you were at the peak of doing the Audition and what it's one of those, it's more of a feeling thing than, you know what I mean?
That's really fucking awesome to hear, because, you know, we as content creators, as we all are now, it's so easy to look at the vanity metrics and go, oh, well, that sucked. Well, maybe it didn't suck, but maybe the algorithm didn't show it to everybody.
That's exactly it.
It showed the last one too.
Yes.
So like, and that's where the consistency comes in. When people say, you got to keep doing it, it's because it can be a luck of a draw,
yes,
like we were talking earlier. It very much can be a situation where like Chapel Realm, you know, dude, it was
yes,
years of preparation for her to hit that moment, and she's still overwhelmed, you know, like
Yes.
Imagine if she hadn't prepared for 10 years or however long, and she didn't go through the trouble of losing a record deal and having to work at McDonald's, like, and like having the fortitude to like pick it back up and go, okay, fuck this. Like I'm doing this.
Dude.
And she has that, now she has a foundation that she can build the rest of her empire on.
I'm connected to a few of the local music scenes that I was a part of. And I'll see guys that'll post online and be like, "What the fuck is TikTok? Why is everybody doing TikTok?" And I'm like, if you're still playing in a music project and you're not embracing that as a format, all you're doing is shooting yourself in the foot. Like,
yeah, it's I mean, that to me screams out it's nothing more than a hobby.
Right. Absolutely.
Which is fine. That's great.
Yeah.
You know, make more room for people like me, you know, who actually like, you know, do your hobby at home, but stop putting it on Spotify.
Oh, man. So what's been the most rewarding thing about this era of your career?
I think so far I mean, there's a lot, dude. I mean, just the fact that it's a thing is incredible to me because, like I said, you know, years ago, I had no interest in being an artist, and you know, you couldn't pay me to go on the road, and now, dude, I'm begging to go. Like, I want to be doing it like I used to, you know, and not smarter and you know, not harder, but that's been fulfilling, dude. I think really the most fulfilling thing, and again, it goes to social media, dude, is when I was coming up in the band, in order for me to communicate with a fan, they had to come to a show. And there's a lot that goes into like going to a show, you know, it's not, and especially for like a teenage kid or like somebody in their early 20s, you know, and that's the only way that people could tell me things and I could thank them and we could share stories. But now, dude, I mean, like I get that immediately. I have people sending me old photos all the time from like at shows, just hanging out at merch. Every day I have people reaching out to me and sending me, and like I'm able to start these conversations with these people and like deepen that relationship. And I think and I never took our fans for granted, but I felt always as if I were just a total imposter.
Mm-hmm.
And like I didn't value myself, so it was hard to accept value from others. And I made a post not too long ago, again, that went, you know, viral in my case for you know, compared to my numbers. And it was just like, listen, if I was ever like unkind to you or rude in any manner, just know that you were dealing with a very confused, drunk, you know, young man. And I apologize. And, you know, I promise it was me, not you. Because, you know, like during my heaviest part of drinking, I mean, drinking comes with shame, dude. Like it's almost the only emotion that comes with it afterward, because every other emotion is tied to shame.
Yep.
And when you're in a place where you're doing it, it wasn't necessarily for me to feel better. It was to mask the shame that I was feeling. So that was my reason for drinking every day.
Yeah.
And it worked, man, but it fucked my life up. You know, I was on a bad path, dude.
For me personally, I haven't drank since 2018, and it wasn't, and I'm not in any kind of recovery or anything. It was just a conscientious choice to kind of touch on the exact point that you're talking about. It was the feeling afterwards. It was that one night getting shit-faced would mean 2 weeks worth of anxiety afterwards. And it was simply not worth it anymore. I didn't want to be the guy feeling like he needed to constantly apologize for a lesser version of himself.
Yeah, and feeling like you have to reach out to everybody you were with the night before, and you didn't even do anything.
Right.
But you feel like you might have.
Right.
And that is a horrible feeling. That is the worst feeling. And for me, it you know, and I mean, that's awesome, dude. That's 6 years, you know.
Yeah.
This 7, it'll be you. So we got sober the same year. I got sober on January 1st, 2018. It's the day that I cut it. And dude, my wife is so sick, dude. She when I met her, like we started, you know, rapping about that, my sobriety and everything. And like out of total solidarity. She just quit drinking, totally quit drinking.
That's
And
amazing.
I'm like, and it wasn't like a big, kind of like what you were saying, it wasn't a big part of her life. And,
Right.
it wasn't like a huge step for her, but it was such a huge thing for me. It was so validating that I was worthy of someone else's love.
Yep.
And it really fucking sticks with me. Like to today, I'm getting emotional talking about it right now, but like that was something that, cause I had been in surrounded by people who almost, when I decided to quit drinking, who almost like resented me for it and would judge me for it because they thought that I was judging them. And so they would like get ahead of it. And that's why I had to like cut myself off from like my network of people that I had built here, because it was all bar driven. It was all alcohol driven. And yeah, man, the opportunities might be there. And it sucks that I see all of these people that I used to work with, dude, I know half the people in the Jelly Roll album. I've worked with half those people, right? Like, and I found some guy today that I used to work with, and it's like not so that getting that hit at me all the time, because I'm one of the few that are still doing it that haven't really seen that next level.
Right.
So it's fucking hard, man. But that was a decision I had to make for myself, and I would make that choice again every day of the week for the rest of my life. No question.
Love that. Love that. With all these lessons learned, taking the past, present, let's take a look at the future. If you were to kind of see yourself 1 year from now and then 5 years from now, how do you see yourself? Where do you see this future and this new version of yourself taking you?
I think with my experience and my willingness to work hard, adapt, and try to understand, I think that the sky's the limit. I think that I have plans, and I have steps that I want to take. And, that goes from like building a team. So within the next year, I would like to have a team of professionals surrounding me, but a team of professionals that I'm not necessarily giving a percentage away to, but I'm paying for their service. Because one of the things that I learned, dude, when you're an artist, bro, you think like these Shabuzis and these guys, and I don't know him personally, but like the quicker that if you're not set up, the quicker that you pop off, the more that they take, because they have to keep that level of success, you need every fucking resource that a major label has. But every time you use them, they take some from you.
Right.
So I want to build a team to where we're working together and people are being paid for their services, because nobody's going to manage 10% of nothing. There's no income. I'd much rather pay somebody, hey, let's work together. And then, yeah, we can renegotiate at any point. But until there's something to work with, there's nothing to work with. So, just the cliche, just keep growing and putting content out. And hopefully I can kind of carve my path with the content that really works for me, kind of touching back on what we said earlier, because I have an idea of what works, but it sucks because I don't really want that niche necessarily to be the only niche.
Right.
But I recognize that it is something, so I need to cater to that. Right. So yeah, I think if I can have a healthy team within a year's time, and I can have my e-commerce running well, I think that for real, dude, the sky's the limit. Because when you start putting things in motion, snowballs start happening.
Yeah.
But it starts with starting, right? Like you have to start. And I'm still in the phase where I'm in my learning phase at the moment. So even though I've only put 7 songs out there, I mean, it takes artists fucking years to break through and crack the code. And so I'm not I know that it's going to be a fight, but as far as 5 years goes, man, I mean, who knows, man? I mean, that's a long time from now, I mean, I could be working back installing security systems, or I could be, touring the world with Morgan Wallen or Chris Stapleton or whoever, that's a far projection, especially how quickly things change nowadays. I mean, things happen overnight with anything, you know, like, and we're informed immediately. So, you know, it's just working on breaking through, man. I mean, that's all I can really do for myself, because I have the music, and I have the vision and the stick to itiveness. It's just implementing. It's just adjusting things. It's just figuring out things that aren't working, and adjusting, and seeing why they're not working, and, you know, just collecting the data and doing it the right way, man. That's it. And continue to do it the right way.
The thing that I love about what you're saying is you're laying out a strategy that is hinged upon long-term gains as opposed to short-term dopamine rush. And I think that's where a lot of people in any phase, whether it be music, podcasting, or whatever their level of creativity is, that's where they fail. They get that quick dopamine rush instead of saying, how is this move that I make right now going to affect me 6 months from now? And how is it going to affect me 6 months after that? You know, and you're kind of seeing that, you know, God love her because she's hilarious, but you'll have that Hawk Tua girl that's all over the place right now. But 6 months from now, we're not even going to be talking about her unless she figures out a way.
Right. But we might be, because she might have her own fucking talk show.
It's like now she's doing a podcast herself. And so if she figures out a way to retain that and like build upon that and like keep moving steps forward. So it kind of sounds like you're taking a very similar approach.
You have to diversify.
Yes.
Right. So she's just diversifying. Like she doesn't have a platform of music and like things where she can like build a fan base, but that's not to say that artists can't do the same thing, even with a small fan base. You can diversify in different ways, and, you know, you can spend wisely to have a good ROI on things. You know, I could throw $500 at an ads manager and then be mad at it that it didn't give me 1 million plays in a week, or I can spend $5 a day and figure out how the fuck it works.
Yeah, exactly.
And then use that when my Hawk Tua moment happens.
Hopefully a Hawk Tua moment doesn't have to happen. Your wife's going to be pissed, bro.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but she loves her. She thinks she's hilarious.
Oh, so, dude, but she is hilarious. She, every time I catch myself stopping and watching everything she's a part of, and it's like, okay, this is how you build a brand for yourself. So,
and that's the thing too that artists get confused, is that like everybody talks about branding. You got a brand, but nobody is able to tell you what that means. No one, because it's multifaceted. It's the way you look, it's your color schemes, it's your palettes, it's the way you speak, it's the message that you give out. And I think people get focused too much on like what my brand is, and instead of letting the brand flesh itself out.
Right.
And then, you know, you're not forcing your shit onto people. You're giving people what they want.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Danny, my closing question is always a fun one. And it is, what is your advice for making the world a better place tomorrow than what it is today, man?
Kindness, man.
Yeah.
Dude, kindness.
Yes.
Dude, there needs to be kindness, because with kindness comes every other understanding and empathy, and it all stems from kindness, I think.
Love that. That.
Yeah, I like that answer. It's very Jason Mraz of me. I'm a diehard Jason Mraz fan.
Tell everybody that's listening to this or watching this where they can find you online and on the social platforms.
I mean, anywhere you can find somebody on the internet, I'm there, bro. Just search my name, Danny Stevens, Spotify, Apple, any social platform or streaming service you can find. Search my name and I'll pop up. You'll find me.
Dude.
Danny Stevens, that's it.
Well, I tell you what, speaking of kindness, I am so glad we connected, and I am proud to now call you a friend. I have your number. You have my number. The door is always open. Even if you just want to text, be like, hey, dude, I got some ideas. Let me bounce some shit, and I might even send them your way too, but we're friends now.
I dig it, dude. I appreciate you having me on, man. I really do.
Dude, Danny Stevens, The world's a much better place with you in it, my friend.
Likewise, you as well, my friend.